Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Excited to have you with us. So I'm putting on my soul on fire hat right now. Just got done with softball yesterday, and so this is super dusty. So if you're on YouTube, that's where all the dust comes from. So excited to get this one going to you today. This one is an interesting episode. So if you listen to the last episode, I highly encourage you to go back if you have not. If you have listened to it, you might know what's coming. So John made this suggestion, John O'Leary, who the movie Soul on Fire is about. So John O'Leary made reference to a book that his dad wrote. His dad wrote a book called The ABCs of Christianity, a father's inspirational advice to his adult children. So this book is not a book that you can buy. So there's nothing you can go reference or go get it. He mentioned how basic the binding is. Uh, so the binding has staples. So it is just two staples into this two-page anyway. So there's nothing to the binding. He mentioned how basic it was, printed out, and uh, certain people heard about it and it went outside of his family. But originally, this was just written for his own adult children. So the wording in this is very, very specific to his family because that's who it was written for. They didn't change it, didn't alter it. As people asked for it, he would print it and give it out for free, never sold it. And John asked me if I had a copy. I wasn't even going to bring that up, with him on the last podcast, but he asked me if I had a copy, and sure enough, I do. And he suggested that we do a podcast episode on the ABCs of Christianity, but only do the letter P. And the letter P is titled Parkinson's disease. So I probably won't read this word for word. I'll probably inject a couple of things along the way as I read this. But for the most part, I'm going to read this word for word so you can hear from Denny O'Leary, who wrote this to his adult children after he got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So if you've ever had a close family member, maybe a parent, get diagnosed with something, um, you might feel differently. You might, depending on your age, depending on a bunch of different factors, but in my case, my dad got diagnosed with prostate cancer recently. So that was the first time something big has happened to my mom or my dad. Um, it's contained medical wise. Everything seems like we're on track and seems like things are going to be okay. But it was jarring at first. And on the previous episode, I asked John what it was like when his dad got diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I was very surprised with his super incredibly honest answer. And I'll paraphrase, but he basically said, well, I was a teenager, so I only really cared about me and my world. And at that time, his Parkinson's didn't really affect my world all that much. So I just kind of went about my life. It was what it was, and I didn't really think too much of it. And not that that's necessarily good or bad. I love how honest John was, but what it made me think of is how, as we have teenagers, as we're parents, as we reflect back to our own teenage years and remember, yeah, that's right. I thought that same way too. I thought the world revolved around me as well, or at least certainly acted like it and thought like it did. There's a saying in F3 that are not a saying so much as we should believe in a higher power outside of ourselves. Other people say in the movie Rudy, there was a priest, I believe it was, that was quoted as saying, "In all my years of being a priest, one thing I've learned is there is a God, and I'm not Him." So we uh, We all are mortal. We're all going to die someday. As much as I don't want to think about it or admit it, my own parents are going to die one day, and certainly I will. And, you know, eventually my kids will as well. But kind of get a little sad just thinking about that. But anyway, P for Parkinson's. Let's just jump in and see why John recommended that we do this one. So, P for Parkinson's, an incurable, progressive, degenerative brain disease. That's what I was told I had 15 years ago by Dr. Barbara Green. I didn't know much about Parkinson's disease. I knew only 3 people that had it. Pardon me if I get the names, pronounce the names wrong, but Fred Rashida, a dentist and friend at St. Clement's, Phil Messina, your dentist, my friend, and our friend, and Joe Donovan, whom you may recall had been so gracious with his wife, Bonnie, in giving us his home near St. Clement's School shortly after January 17th, 1987. That must have been when his own personal home got burned down by one and only little John O'Leary. So, in fact, I'm ashamed to say that I thought Joe was an alcoholic. Every time I saw him at St. Clement's function, he staggered around looking like he was going to fall down while slurring his words he spoke when he spoke. I could now diagnose his problem from across a room. I want to share with you my thoughts about the disease. Again, this is Denny O'Leary's words. So Denny says this about Parkinson's disease. First, I am not angry about it. I don't believe God sent it to me. I don't think why me, and I don't think for me, but I am sad about it. It's an unusual realization when I get up each morning that I am a bit closer to the medicine not working than I was when I went to bed. I do remain hopeful that new medicines or techniques will be discovered, that acupuncture will help, or that prayers will be answered. I am extremely frustrated by my inability to speak loudly, distinctly, and slowly. I could never speak slowly, but was never terribly concerned because I was always understood. Now I receive a lot of uh-huhs and head shakes when the poor listener doesn't have a clue because I couldn't understand it myself. So that's Denny saying he couldn't even understand his own words. So his thoughts were coming out of his mouth and he couldn't even understand his own words. Whew. All right. Then he goes on to say, I am embarrassed when I get struck in crowds or in restaurants or other public places. Unable to get my legs moving better than a shuffle. At home, it is merely an interesting challenge. I am sorry that I am uncomfortable in picking up or holding one of my grandchildren. I appear aloof and unloving. I am concerned about the walk down the aisle with Susan and terrified about trying to give a welcoming talk at the reception. As I look to the future, I am not afraid of the progression of the disease. What will be, and I am not going to worry about it. I am concerned about our monetary situation when the disability policy cash flow goes away. I am concerned that I not become a burden, but I do have long term care insurance. A lot of positive things have occurred. I had an opportunity for a second career with HOK and am delighted with the people I met and the work I did. I have enjoyed the freedom to play 9 holes of golf on many days, depending on my health. I really do like retirement and the freedom it gives to always be able to go. I realized that if I had not retired, I would have never written our book. Denny O'Leary and Susan O'Leary wrote a book that's also really good. I would have never written our book, which purged me of the daily anger and sorrow and liberated John from repressing his thoughts. I still frequently get emotional about it, but my tears are usually happy as I look at the incredible man that John has become. I take delight in every one of you. You are each truly amazing to me. I am happy I have time to pray and hope to make it an even more central part of each day. I enjoy being around your mother as our paths cross many times each day. She is more special than I could have dreamed or hoped. I have enjoyed traveling we have done. I enjoy the traveling we have done and look forward to the Irish adventure that you so generously gave to mom and me. So it sounds like his children bought them a Irish vacation for the O'Learys. How cool. So Frank Sinatra would say, mistakes. I made a few. In my case, I've made many. I did a few things my way, a lot of things mom's way. And I hope that I did most things God's way. As I look to the future, I am happy, humble, and a little bit fearful. Denny O'Leary. I've forgotten the first time that I read that. I got emotional, and I probably would have sounded the same way that I just sounded had I read that aloud and recorded it. Um, I only met Denny when he was well into Parkinson's. I only met him just maybe around 3 years ago. The part he talks about where might not have even understood what he said. I met him at that stage of life. I met him in a room with maybe 30 people, 50 people, something like that. And what amazed me as I sat there and watched him, full of Parkinson's. He was in a chair. He couldn't really get around on his own. People were helping him out. Susan was bringing him food to eat and helping feed it to him and just taking great care of him. And I thought to myself, he looks so comfortable. He looks so understanding of what his situation is and kind of his place in the room and understanding what other people probably were thinking, that in this particular room there were a lot of people that had just met him for the very, very first time. As men, I know we're proud of being self-sufficient. Ego can come into play. People tell me that ego wasn't really a big factor for Denny O'Leary, even though he was an attorney, respected, had plenty of people reaching out to him for help and advice and all those type things. Again, I didn't know him back then, but that's just what people have told me. So I think back to the various times and various conversations Denny and I had over those 3 years, 2 years, 2.5 years, and he just had a way about him. He was very much paying attention to everything around him. Mentally, he could still process things and take things in. He still had thoughts and uh, directives. Might be the wrong word, but he knew how he wanted things to go, and he knew he had control over some things. And the people close to him certainly listened to him and certainly respected him and allowed him time to get his thoughts out and process it. And there were some good days and bad days where he could speak more clearly, and there were other days where he spoke, you know, in ways that very few people could even understand him. He had a way of getting your attention and then also kind of carrying a conversation on. Again, in a crowded room, it was difficult, but when you were one on one with him, he really, really cared that he understood you. And even though it was frustrating to him having to repeat himself time and time again, he would kind of give a look like, hey, I know this is tough for both of us, but appreciate you, sticking it out. Appreciate you listening. Um, yeah. So some things in this one kind of just reminded me directly of the movie itself. Um, he talks about getting embarrassed when he's stuck in crowds and restaurants and public places. He's unable to get his legs going. There's a scene in the movie, and John mentions as it being one of his favorite, if not his favorite scene in the entire movie. But it's during the wedding scene, and the uh, the officiant, the priest, says, everybody, please rise, or here comes the bride. The song comes on, so everybody rises. Well, his dad's in a chair. His dad's got Parkinson's, and he stood up. And it's amazing in the movie. You can clearly see him standing. And I'd forgotten that I knew that his dad stood. I assumed it was some type of CGI or special effects, but when the movie finally came out, I'm like, I knew that he did that on his own power. And I still can't believe it because I never saw Denny stand. And John saying that Denny didn't stand on his own under his own power. So just pretty incredible. Um, how he can not be angry about having Parkinson's and losing control over different functions. It's amazing. Uh, and how he looked at Parkinson's as a gift. Some of the things he meant by that, he mentions in this short note: the gift of freedom of his time, the gift of um, realizing that he's not in control of everything and that he's got to trust God, and how through Parkinson's he's been able to get closer and closer to God, to Christ. Um, so I love the way that he closes it out, and he talks about his children, how he takes delight in every one of you, how they're each truly amazing to him. I got choked up at that part when your own dad speaks those words to you, or if he hasn't. I'm sorry. I know that hurts. A number of my guy friends, I hear that from them. One of my guy friends, I got to see his dad, and there's some deep, deep, deep wounds there, and healing is still going on. And his own dad told me, separate from my friend, really, really proud of my son. Like, he's done some big things and helped a lot of people, helped a lot of men, helped a lot of dads around the world. And I was able to tell my friend that. Unfortunately, the two of them, weren't right there in front of me, so he didn't hear that conversation at all. But when I said, "Hey, your dad said some good things about you the other day," it was pretty cool. And he says, "Oh, that's great. You talked to my dad." And there was a pause, and then there was a, "Hey, can I ask? I feel, funny or whatever asking, but can you share his words with me?" And it was great. I'm like, well, I feel funny texting his words to you because I really want to tell you this in person, but we don't get to see each other in person all the time. Um, but here's what he said. So, guys, I pray for healing for you to be able to forgive your father if you didn't hear words like that spoken. I got to spend some time with the Kendrick brothers that have done quite a few movies, like Facing the Giants and War Room and lots of others. And I saw them do they called it a father's prayer, where they prayed to God and they put their hands over a man. Ryan, if you're listening, yeah, I'm talking about you. Really helped change this guy's life, helped him forgive, helped him embrace who his father is, and the type of things his father had done to abandon Ryan at a younger age, and really just helped him heal. So he's a much, much better person and even better dad now than he was before because he was able to process some things and understand his father better and able to forgive his father. So that's a huge, huge, huge central thing. So, guys, if you got that father wound, I truly do pray for you. I'm blessed that I had an amazing father. And I personally can take these words and go, yeah, my dad spoke words like that into me, and I'm grateful. I get tearful in that because I also think about God, our Father, and how these are His words as well. He delights in us, each and every one of us. So if you haven't spoken words like this to your children, I do want to be directive and prescriptive here. Uh, tell your kids. Tell your kids. You might think you've got a lot of time left, but I've got many, many examples of people recently who said, that one could have been my last. Like, I saw the semi truck. I got the diagnosis. I ran to the hospital, or somebody had an ambulance come take me to the hospital. So these seconds and minutes and days that we have, they're not guaranteed. Tell your kids today. Blake Brewer, if you're listening, he's been on before. He encourages us to write a legacy letter, and I'm grateful that I've done that and plan to do more for my children. So let them know. Then he talks about enjoy being around his wife, his kid's mother, and having Parkinson's. He gets to spend more time with her and gets to see her more often and much more closely than he had in the past. He talks about how special she is, more than he could have ever dreamed or hoped. So, we had Gary Thomas on a while back, and we talked about cherishing our wives. So, cherish is a word that I think about quite a bit. So, if I'm in a tough mental spot with my wife about something, chances are it's me and my way of thinking, doing, controlling. Chances are she may have gotten one thing wrong, but 99 things right. And I'm just holding on to that one thing and being an idiot, being stubborn. So find ways to appreciate your wife, find ways to express how much you love her, show her your love every day. And then he closes it out. So I'll close this one out with Denny's words so we can hear them again. They certainly were touching to me. I hope they're touching to you. Frank Sinatra would say, mistakes. I made a few. In my case, I've made many. I did a few things my way, a lot of things mom's way, and I hope that I did most things God's way. As I look to the future, I am happy, humble, and a little bit fearful. God bless you, men. Pray for you.